your approach to tafsir generally, about how to think about the Quran. I haven't seen very many people that approach it in English, at the very least, from what I've had exposure wise, in a similar way to you. There are people, but it's something I would say quite few and far between, for people to be able to express these thoughts in a way that people like me can understand, for example. Is there anywhere, for example, specifically that I could take this from you? Do you have anything about tafsir of Quran, or how to think about the Quran on a practical level, as in me just reading the Quran? How can I take these thoughts? How can I develop them? Or is there somewhere I can go, or things that I can do to develop this?
There's a very beautiful breakdown of Quranic interpretation in the Usul al-Fiqh literature. So the Hanafi Usul al-Fiqh says there are 4 ways you can derive meaning from the Quranic passage. I typically don't mention the 4th because I find it a bit specific, but the top 3, I find them very practical. They call it al-istidlal bi'ibarat al-nas wa isharat al-nas wa dalalat al-nas.
And you leave iqtida.
Iqtida is very specific, you see. It's just like a word is missing. But these are fundamental principles in every single verse. You could look for them. The ibara to nas is the plain sense meaning of what the verse is saying. Don't say uff to your parents means don't say uff to your parents. It's very, very simple. The ishara is anything else you can learn from that passage, even though the passage isn't really talking about that. And the assumption of the ishara, or the allusion, the indication of the text, is that everything in the Quran is meaningful. It's divine speech. It's perfect. It's muhkam. It's precise. And so our ulama have this assumption, which is all possible meanings are intended. It's up to you to understand how to benefit from that meaning. That's something our Imams of Tasawwuf expanded a very great deal. Just to think about, it's very common nowadays. They say, open the Quran at random, that's Allah's message to you. Like the common man looks at the Quran like that. That beyond the layers of what the plain sense meaning might be, there's something for me here today. So the common man and woman speak like that. And I'm saying that's how our ulama have spoken for centuries, and that's how our fiqh scholars have derived fiqh. They'll talk about how much can you wipe off the head using allusions of particles and ordering of, but it's clear that the plain sense wasn't talking about that. So in other words, it's a salaf based method. It's right from the early Islam that the Quran, it doesn't just have plain sense, it has a multi-layering of possible meanings. The learned one is the one who can benefit from different layers of benefiting from the text. How do you do that? There's external requirements and internal. The external is just Islamic studies. The more you know Arabic, the more a 2-dimensional word becomes 3-dimensional. Even grammar. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Is it مفعول لأجله? Is it hal? It affects, are we saying the Prophet ﷺ, he is the rahmah? Are we saying he was sent for rahmah? There's already a multiplicity of meaningful communication then. There's a multiplicity of meaningful communication in the qira'at. You learn fiqh, usul al-fiqh, you learn... So your education gives you tools, but there's the internal requirement. They call knowledge light, and light comes from practice. What is the practice? Yeah, practice what you know, for sure. And practice a relationship with the Holy Quran. Recite it a lot. That's it. Love the Quran. Have respect when you read the Quran. Believe all knowledge can come to you through this book. Believe it. And then what Allah casts in the heart, if you have the tools, you can explain and articulate what's entered into your heart. That's why knowledge has to come with intuition. So the common person intuits, but they don't have a clear way to articulate, is this a valid intuition, or how can I benefit from it?
Yes.
And someone with learning, if they don't intuit, then they can't really grow with the Quran or grow with any of really Islamic teaching. So we want a bit of both. Intuition and articulation, the tools of that. And that's it. And as long as you have the tools, and it's a lifelong journey, and you'll benefit what you can't imagine. And from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And your teacher is Allah and His Messenger. That's what has come from the Salaf. Allahu A'lam.
Barakallahu feek.
Feekum.